Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I want to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is kind of defending The Walking Dead Season 8. The reason why I want to do this is because I've noticed in the community for the past 2 years, there's this really big hatred for Season 8, and people always claim Scott Gimble's trash because of this season. They say this is the worst season of the entire series. They say it's one of the worst seasons of any show they've ever watched, and I've never understood it. Not even a little bit. I always ask people because I'm curious. I like to have discussions about this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, what do you hate about Season 8? And, you have to take away your own personal vendettas. You have to think objectively, story-wise, what is bad about this season? They can never give me a reasonable answer. They give me some criticism, and some of them are valid, yes, but some of them are also either invalid or they're really slim to the point where they don't really affect the season that much. Or they're just massive nitpicks, and it's just like, bro, I could say that for literally any season of any show ever, and it would work the same way. Or they say really vague things like, oh, it has bad writing, it has bad directing, and it has bad acting. I'm like, can you be any more vague? Give me specifics. But over these, years of just listening to people's criticism on this season, I've kind of discovered a few of the main ones. We're going to discuss those main ones and refute them, and we're going to explain why either that's not a big deal or that's not even a bad thing in the first place, at least in my opinion, because yes, all these different writing things, it's all your opinion. You might like certain writing styles more than other writing styles. I might be different. It just all depends on your opinion. I'm not saying you're invalid for having an opinion. I'm just saying some of your opinions are shit, in my opinion. That's important to note. And then we're gonna go through why I love the season, and then we're gonna go through what I don't like about this season, because nothing's perfect. Of course, there's gonna be things I don't like, and there's some things that I don't like that a lot of other people do say, but there's also things that I don't like that I've not heard many people mention, so I think that's important to note as well. I don't think this is the best season of all time, not even close. I think this is probably the number 4th, maybe 5th, maybe even 3rd, one of those spots. When I'm ranking the seasons later this year, you'll see, I definitely don't think it's my favorite, but it's definitely not the best. But it's definitely not close to being the worst, and I get aggravated when I hear people say that, because it's like, I don't get it, man. I really enjoyed this season as a whole. I'm not talking about season 7. Season 7, people like to pair with season 8. I'm not talking about season 7. I think that season, yes, that had a lot more issues in this season. Although having an amazing premiere and an amazing finale, there were a lot of pacing issues, a lot of issues with just the writing throughout the middle of the season in particular. But I'm not talking about that. We're talking about season 8, not season 7. So let's do this. So the first thing, which I probably hear this the most out of anything on this list, and that is Carl's death. So there's 2 things I need to discuss about this death. First of all, I don't think it's a badly written death. Just because you wanted a character to live on because you thought they had future potential, that doesn't mean that their death was badly written. Every single character, Abraham, Glenn, you can go back to Merle, Shane, all these characters, yeah, they had future potential. They could have been great. I would have loved to see a little bit more of them, but that doesn't make their deaths badly written. What makes a death well written or not is how much impact that death has in consistency with that character's impact itself. So for example, a big character should have a bigger impact on the story when they die, and then a smaller character should be a smaller impact. That's how you tell whether or not it's good writing or not. So Carl's death, he was a massive character, and his impact on the show was huge. Carl's death is the reason that Rick kept Negan alive. That's the most important thing it did. It also did a lot of development for Sadiq, and Michonne kind of brought Sadiq into the story and made him feel like he had more of a purpose, because his life was only further lived because of Carl, you know what I mean? So he felt like he had to honor him by doing what he did later in the season by being a doctor and helping people out. And then he did some more helping out in season 9 and 10, and then they killed him off, but you get the idea. The whole reason for Rick keeping Negan alive, the whole reason for a new beginning, all the things that Rick was building towards was all for Carl. That's why his death was impactful. Now, whether or not you wanted him to die there, that doesn't change the fact that it's a good death. It's a good death. They gave him a whole episode, for God's sake. They didn't throw it under the bus. You want an example of a badly written death? Tara from season 9. That death, it was the worst death in The Walking Dead history. That character, yes, she wasn't huge to the story, but she at least had some sort of an impact. She was there. She impacted many different characters like Eugene, Rosita, Maggie, a couple other characters. We saw them be developed because of Tara. And for not to show any of their reactions to her death and not be impacted by her death at all, Tara's death did nothing for the story. It could have been left the same way. Wouldn't have made much of a difference. That's a badly written death. Now, Henry is a character I really wanted to live on. I was really pissed when they killed him off. But that doesn't mean it was a badly written death. I'm not going to sit here claiming Season 9 is bad because a character that I wanted to live on a little bit longer died. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The stupidest thing. Carl's death should not be used as a point of contention for calling this season bad. That's a stupid way to claim a season's bad just because you wanted that character to live on, just because they live on in the comics. Stupid. Stupid. That death was emotional, it was impactful, it was well done. Just because you hate the behind the scenes stuff, yeah, you can hate Scott Gimple all you want, even though I prefer you didn't, because, I mean, he's writing a story. Let the man write a damn story. You can hate him all you want, but why would you call the season badly written because you weren't a fan of a death? Because the character died. What? What? And then I get people saying, oh, it's because it was out of nowhere. They didn't build up to it. I call that bullshit, because Carl being this peaceful person, that was not out of nowhere. He's been like that since Season 4. After he shot that kid in the woods at the end of Season 3, he thought about that. And then he was a fucked up person in Season 2 and 3. He was. You go back to that. He was a little future serial killer in the making. We all saw it. Season 4 came around after being without a gun for a while. Rick wanted him to just be a normal kid for a little bit. He started caring a little bit and actually showing a sense of humanity. And then later on in the season, Gabriel comes around. Rick's being like a douchebag to Gabriel, and Carl's like the only nice person to Gabriel. Says he'll teach him how to fight because he's being nice to him. That's humanity. And then the wolves attack, remember? And Carl was trying to protect the place. That guy attacks him. He shoots him in the leg once when he was attacking Ron. And the guy was begging for help. Carl hesitated. Carl would not put him down. He was going to go help him, but then the guy attacked him, so Carl had to shoot him, pretty much. He was always a peaceful guy. The reason why he went to the sanctuary to kill Negan, though, simply because he was angered. Negan just killed Glenn and Abraham. Of course he's going to be pissed off and aggravated. But then he went to the sanctuary. He saw that there's good people there. He saw that there's kids, there's women, there's all sorts of different types of people, innocent people. And that's, if you listen to Carl's letter to Rick in episode 15 of season 8, he says that. He says that there's good people there.
There are workers in there, Dad. They're just regular people, old people, young people, families. You don't want them to die, Dad. You have to give them a way out. You have to find peace with Negan.
And it's not necessarily that he wants Negan to live. That wasn't his goal. It was that he just wants Rick to find peace with the Saviors and not kill all of them. That's what he was trying to say. And that's the whole point of Carl's death, is to teach Rick that. Because Rick previously, look back at season 5, he was kill them all. Let's kill them all. They don't get to live. We're going to go back and kill each and every one of those people. That's how he was. And season 8 changed Rick and turned him into something completely different, who was willing to compromise with the enemy and work with them and say, okay, we'll imprison you or we'll take your guns away, but we're not going to kill you. We're not savages. And that's what developed Rick into season 9 Rick. Season 9 Rick was a great person. He was a leader. He was looked up upon by the Saviors. Some of them, not all of them. The Saviors who were previously, bowing to Negan are now looking to Rick as his god. You wouldn't have gotten any of that development if it wasn't for Carl's death. You say, oh, they did it in the comics and it worked. But it didn't work in the comics. I'm sorry, I've read the comics a million times. I still think that's a plot hole. It makes no sense why he just changed his mind out of nowhere and said, you know what, I'm gonna keep Negan alive. There wasn't enough in the story to make me believe that Rick would actually do that. Now, of course, Rick's a different person in the comics than he is in the TV show. They're different characters. They're just based off the same person, but they're still different characters. They've been through different stuff. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But even just reading through the comics, comic Rick, I still didn't believe it. I didn't. And Carl's death in the show made me believe that Rick would do what he did. And obviously it took him till after reading the note, after reading Carl's letter, to really truly feel that, because previously he assassinated those guys in the bar, remember, with Morgan, which was a great episode, by the way. But yeah, Carl's death, not badly written. But even if it was badly written, even if it was, let's pretend it was. Let's pretend it's like Tara's death, which I think is badly written. Is that really enough reason to hate the season? Like, I love season 9. I like season 9 more than season 8. I do. I think season 9 is one of the best seasons of all time. But I'm not gonna say Tara's death being badly written ruins the whole season. It's one moment of a whole 16 episode season. How would that one moment ruin the entire season? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's my argument on Carl's death. I think that's the most important argument because it's the one I hear the most, and I shot it down in 2 seconds. We don't need Carl for the story. I don't care how much you think he had future potential. He was the future of the show. Says who? You're not writing the story, they are. They clearly don't want Carl to be the future of the show, so let them do that. It worked in the story, it fit. Judith is already a better actress than Chandler Riggs was. I'm sorry, Chandler, but I did not like your acting. Even you said that yourself. You had some good episodes, most of them not so much, but it worked in the end. And I'm happy how it worked out. I wasn't happy about it at first because I wanted to see the future of Carl, but after seeing them replace it with Henry and Judith, I'm fine with it. I'm really fine with it. Next up is the pacing. I hear a lot of people complaining about the pacing, saying there's a lot of filler, saying it's too slow. This one doesn't make sense to me. Now, season 7, I agree, yes, there was a lot of slow moments they had, especially in 7B. There was a lot of bottle episodes, a lot of just slow pacing in the story. But season 8, what? You look at season 8, episodes 1 through 4 all took place in the span of like one day because it was a war. We're in a war. You can't just do time jumps. Like, people apparently use that as a negative, the fact that the season only took place within like 2 weeks of like in season time. How is that a bad thing? That just means so much stuff is happening that they can't do time jumps. Like season 9 and even season 10, they're able to do these time jumps because they're not constantly things happening. Of course they can. Season 8, they're in the middle of a goddamn war. You can't do a time jump in the middle of a war. That wouldn't make any sense. We'd be wondering what the hell happened in between that time because obviously something had to have happened. This all happens quick, and that's why it's the way it is, and that's why it's a whole season. And I see people saying they wanted the war to be like 4 episodes. What? How the hell can you fit All Out War into 4 episodes? Even the comic All Out War, even if they just took what was only in the comics, that would still be a couple of more than 4 episodes. You can't do that. With all the communities, with all the characters, with all the plots going on in this season, you can't fit it into any less than... You probably could cut it down to like 14 episodes, maybe at most. You can't do any less than that without it just being really rushed or without completely cutting storylines, which would be stupid because why would you cut storylines? Just keep them in there. I think the season all had some pretty good storylines. I do think, which will go into my negatives, there are a few storylines that either were underused or overdone. We'll go into that later, but as a whole, the pacing was fine. It was. I don't think there's really much to argue about that. Episodes 5, 6, and 7 were kind of slow, but they were very character driven, and I feel like without those character developing moments, you do lose a lot. And then the second half of season 8 was just on the ball. I mean, there was no like stopping moments there. I mean, maybe episode 11, but that's about it. Every other moment there was something happening every episode that was pretty major, so that's important to note. This is the next one I hear a lot. I hear people saying there's a lot of inconsistent characters. They say badly written characters, which I feel like people just don't know what bad writing is because they just throw it out all the time, and it's just like, okay, just because you're not interested in something doesn't make it bad writing. People say, I'm bored of this, therefore it's bad writing. Excuse me, what? Like, I'm able to at least differentiate my boredom in bad writing. Like, The Godfather, a really well-written movie. I will admit that. But it's a boring movie. I physically don't find any enjoyment watching it. I've seen it twice, and I think it's really boring. I do, I'm gonna be honest. But it's well written. Same with like other great movies like Shawshank Redemption. It's just boring. But it's a really well written script. The dialogue is solid. The storylines are solid. It's good, but it's boring. So that all has to do with interest, the whole boredom factor. So if people are bored of the season, that's fine. You can be bored of it, but don't claim it to be shit just because you're bored. You need actual reasons and actual objective claims to tell me that it's shit, or else you just sound like an idiot, you know? But let's talk about inconsistent characters. So these are the characters people claim are inconsistent and that they're badly written. I hear Morgan, Daryl, Tara. Those are the 3 ones I hear the most. Now, Morgan's a really easy one to refute because it's just people don't understand Morgan at all. And I just think those people need to do research or need to read a book. Look, if Morgan was supposed to be a normal person, right, without any issues, without any mental illnesses, I would agree, yes, he's inconsistent and he's badly written. But Morgan is not a normal person. That's clear. We've known that since season 3. He has a lot of PTSD from past moments with his wife and his son, which is causing him to develop certain personality disorders like bipolar personality disorder, and I think a little bit of schizophrenia. That's just, I'm not professional. I've taken a lot of psych classes, so I kind of got an idea, but I'm not professional. That's just what I gathered from watching it. His inconsistent tendencies to be on either side of an extreme, either being kill them all or kill no one, that's a clear sign of a bipolar disorder. His just bursting out moments of just freaking out on people, saying things that don't make sense. Like, everyone's like, his dialogue is badly written. No, it's not. He's just crazy. That's why what he's saying doesn't make sense. There's a lot of lines of dialogue in The Walking Dead. It's why I love this show so much, because the dialogue is real. It's so freaking real. There's times when Rick, like when Carl was dying and Rick was speaking, what he was saying made no sense at all. But it doesn't even matter because it's realistic in the scenario that's happening. He is mortified and he's in shock that his son is dying right in front of him. So he can't even speak right. Maggie did the same thing after Glenn's death. She was saying the weirdest shit ever, but it's realistic. People do that when they're emotional. Not every line of dialogue is going to be just pure, unfiltered speech. No. Like, Rick, and when Carl was dying, he was saying something like, it's them, no, it's them. Like, what is he saying? No one understands what he's saying. Are you talking about the saviors? That doesn't matter. He's trying to get words out, and he can't because he can't fathom that his son is dead. He can't. Morgan is just messed up in the head, man. He really, really is. So when he says things, yeah, it makes no sense. I agree. That's kind of the point. Now, I'm not saying that they just throw in random dialogue and just go with it. No, I'm saying they methodically think, what would someone with these disorders be saying in this situation? And those are realistic to what those people would be saying. And Morgan, he even says it. He says, I know I'm not right. He says that multiple times. I think people should be able to see that. Tara. Now, inconsistent characters, I hate when the argument's used too often because people like to just see a character doing one thing and then doing another thing that's different, that's opposite to what they were originally doing, like a few episodes later, and they say it's inconsistent. You have to look at the change. You have to look at what changed them to make a different decision. If it's something obvious, if it's something that's in the story, then it's not badly written. If it's something that's not there and there's no clear indication as to why they changed, then yes, it's bad. Like, people claim it's bad writing that Rick says to Negan, I'm gonna kill you, like 4 times, and then he doesn't kill him in the end. Are you stupid? It's very clear as to why he doesn't kill Negan, because of Carl's death. I thought that was obvious. But no, Tara, let's talk about Tara, because her and Daryl, right, they go to do this thing which was against the plan, right? It was against what it was. And ultimately, yes, it was a dumb decision because it ended up causing people to die. And it was just people on their own. It was a really solo mission type thing, and it was probably not the best idea, but they did it anyways because they didn't believe in Rick's decision. Now, people claim that bad decisions are bad writing, and that's not true at all. Just because a character makes a bad decision does not mean it's badly written. That's realistic. People make bad decisions in real life. As long as it fits the character and makes sense as to what the character would do, then it works. Tara, she didn't tell people about the guns in Oceanside right away, and then that got people killed. Olivia and Spencer died. Basically, she blamed herself for that, right? So then she was saying that she had to have done something. She was even saying this in one of the episodes. It was a good thing that she can't just stand around and just not do anything. She needs to do something about this, or else she's afraid something will happen. That made sense, right? Now, Daryl's another story. I want to say it's inconsistent because you'd think Daryl wouldn't do this because he got someone killed because he did something. So I feel like it would have worked better writing-wise if Daryl was very much against doing what Tara's doing and they were kind of batting each other's heads about this whole thing. And maybe they should have just made the plan itself a little bit smarter. Maybe if they had more people on board with it, then I think I would have been happier with it. But just the way they did it with just 2 of them, I agree that felt off to me. I do, and I'm going to talk about that in my negatives of this season. But for Tara's part, I don't think that was inconsistent on her at all. I think Daryl was just kind of hot-headed this season. That's kind of why he was the way he was. I mean, Daryl didn't really have much development this season at all. I mean, when you really think about it, Daryl kind of was very static this season, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I didn't really think he needed that much development this season. You don't need to be developing every single character, every single episode. It's okay if sometimes they kind of have some characters on the backbone and they just kind of are there to just be a badass. That's kind of what Daryl was this season, to me at least. And he had a couple moments in the latter half of this season with Rick and talking to him, saying he apologizes for what he was doing. He wasn't thinking about, you know, innocent people, and that kind of did change Daryl for later on. But it also pushed Rick and Daryl against each other in the beginning of season 9, which ultimately didn't matter because when Rick was about to die, Daryl just forgot all the, you know, differences they had and said, I just gotta save my brother, you know what I mean? So I thought that was beautifully written, and I think we just didn't need Daryl to be some, you know, insanely developed character this season. So I see a lot of people calling him badly written this season. I don't think that's true at all. I think Daryl has always been kind of hot-headed, especially when things like that happen. Maybe he just wasn't thinking straight. I mean, he was kind of clear. He kind of said that to Rick. He wasn't thinking straight. And, I mean, you only would know what plan would work. You wouldn't know it when you're there, you know what I mean? You wouldn't know what you would do in that situation. And I say that for a lot of different things. Like, people are like, they're sitting on the couch looking at a screen. They start blaming someone for, you know, making a little mistake in a TV show. And I'm like, well, you might have made the same mistake if you were there, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you would do if you were in that situation until you're actually in that situation. So that's important to note. So another criticism I hear often about this season is people saying that they have unlimited ammo. This is the stupidest argument, because I could say that for literally any TV show, any movie I think I've ever watched in my entire life. Like, they don't show us every single time someone reloads their gun, or like, why would they do that? Like, people are complaining that people don't reload enough. Who gives a shit? First of all, they do have lots of scenes of people reloading. First of all, even if they didn't, who the fuck cares? We don't have to see someone reloading for you to understand that they're reloading. They could be reloading off screen. They could be, and I'm sure they are, because bullets don't hold, or guns don't hold that much ammo at once. So yes, they are reloading. And no, they don't have unlimited ammo. That was even a big point of contention in the second half of the season. They had to talk about the fact that they don't have much ammo, and the fact that they need to make more bullets with Eugene. That was a whole point of contention. They were spraying and praying in the beginning episodes because they're in a war. People don't sit back and think about conserving ammo that much when they're in war. They're scared. These aren't trained soldiers. These are civilians being thrown into a battle. You really think they're going to sit there going, okay, I got 30 bullets. I need to save each and every single one of them. Only use one at a time. No, if someone comes around the corner, they're going to be scared. They're going to be riping that gun up into them as much as they can. They're not going to be sitting going, boom, 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 like trying to conserve bullets. No, that's just unrealistic to who these people are. They are just trying to survive. They're in a war. They're in battles. So complaining about limited ammo is just stupid. Then I hear people complaining about people missing their shots. First of all, go shoot a goddamn gun. They're not laser beams like they are in Call of Duty. They're civilians as well, so yes, they're not going to be hitting every shot. They do hit some shots as well. Sometimes people get behind cover. When they get behind cover, they're behind cover. You can't shoot them when they're behind cover unless they're behind a surface that you can shoot through. But sometimes they're behind cover that you can't really shoot through. So that's important to note. People hear people complaining about the beginning of the season when they didn't kill Negan, because that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan. It's not that Rick missed. That wasn't the plan. Then he started to want to just kill him right there. But then it was like, no, calm down, dude. That's not the plan. They got to stick to it. And that's what Rick wanted to do. And then Gabriel talked him out of trying to go fetch Negan because he realized that's a death trap, you know what I mean? So that's important to note as well. They were shooting the windows because they wanted the Walker herd to be attracted towards the place, as well as so they can get any snipers that are up there killed or out of contention, so they don't have to worry about them later on when they come back to make them surrender. That was the plan. They weren't just going to light up all the lieutenants. Dwight was up there. Why would they light them all up? That makes no sense. They're not psychopaths. And then I hear people saying stuff like, oh, the bullets should be going through the cars. Well, first of all, bullets, they can go through cars, yes. But they're not always going to go through the cars. Sometimes they can hit things in between and they might not go through the car all the way. So You're not going to always get killed just because you're getting shot at behind a car. You know what I mean? It also depends on the caliber of bullets that you're using. It depends on a lot of different things in the range at which you're at. But people who watch movies and shows like that bother me so much. The people who sit there thinking of all the like realism behind it. They're like, yo, that's unrealistic. He would have died in real life. Oh, that's unrealistic. Yeah, he should have died. No, that gun should have been like this. That. People who watch movies and shows like that drive me nuts. Just fucking watch it and enjoy it, please. Try to enjoy it at least. Because when you start nitpicking those realistic standpoints, it's just stupid. Look at some of the best shows and movies of all time. They all have the same issue, and it doesn't bother anyone else. Look at Breaking Bad, one of the best like scenes in Breaking Bad history. When Hank, spoiler alert, when Hank and Gomi are behind the car, they're getting shot at by the Nazis, right? They're behind the cars, no one's hitting any shots, and they're literally right there. How is no one getting hit? I don't give a shit. Just enjoy it. It was a great scene. Just enjoy it. No one complained about that scene then. I never heard one person complain about that scene. So why are you complaining about The Walking Dead? Why? I don't know. It's because the show is the most popular show, so it gets the most hate. Makes sense, I guess. So, and then I also hear the argument of bad action. They say a lot of the action scenes are badly shot, badly directed. Now, I will agree there's a few action scenes that I'm not a big fan of how they're shot. They either don't make it too clear as to what's going on, or they're kind of just weirdly edited. But there's also a lot of action sequences that are freaking fantastic. Episode 2, literally the entirety of that episode is pretty solid. Episode 4, Episode 8, Episode 9 has some action in it that's really good. Episode 12, 13, 14, 16, all has some great action. There's only a few instances where I'm like, okay, they could have shot that a little bit better. But it's not bad. It's not bad action. It's not badly written. It's just, oh, they could have improved upon that, you know? I think every season has had a few moments here and there where there's directing that I'm like, yeah, you know, you could have done that a little bit better. I don't think this season's any different. I think the fact that they had a lot more action, just that does add for a lot more opportunities for scenes that aren't well shot. But I don't think that's really the case, at least in my opinion. So now let's go into the stuff I loved about the season and then the stuff I didn't love about the season. So we went over the main criticisms I hear, and we kind of just refuted them. Some of them I semi-agreed with, and some of them I completely disagreed with, and had a pretty good explanation as to why I disagree with it so heavily. So what I love, first of all, the soundtrack. Now, I know every season has a great soundtrack. Bear McCreary is goddamn incredible, but this season is probably where he shined the most. I think this is his best work, is season 8. Of all time. It's easily the best work he's ever done. There's so many countless tracks that are just phenomenal in this season that really fit the theme and the emotion of said scene. And I wouldn't want it any other way, man. And this guy is just a genius. But I do think, like I said, season 8 is where he's the best he's ever been. So that's important to note. The character development specifically of Rick, Ezekiel, Negan, Simon, Eugene, and Carol, those are the characters I really enjoyed the development of the most. Of course, we have a lot of other characters that had some development, but these are the ones that I enjoyed watching through the most. Ezekiel and losing his kingdom, and then the tiger, and then Carol having to kind of bring him back to sanity was all great stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Some of the best writing in the entire show, honestly, comes from Ezekiel and that entire, well, especially episode 4, one of his best episodes ever. Negan and Simon and their kind of back and forth, as well as Dwight. Oh my god, I loved the Savior episodes. I mean, I didn't think I would love to see the enemy's base so much, but I did. seeing the enemy, seeing everything going on from them, and the different back and forths, and the fact that Simon was trying to get Dwight on his side, and then Negan kind of found out about Dwight through Laura, and then the whole episode 15 was just really great with all the back and forth, and then, you know, Negan had to kill Simon. All that stuff was fan-freaking-tastic. The themes and the symbolism used in this season were just fantastic. I love how the episode 1 kind of started off with 3 different timelines that weren't completely answered till later episodes. You were confused after episode 1. You were like, what the hell's going on? It's all answered later on. We see Carl's vision of the future, and then we see Rick under that tree, which was a, you know, thing, and then he says, my mercy prevails over my wrath, which was the theme of this season. Like, let your mercy be more important than your anger. So instead of just killing, be peaceful. That was the whole theme of this season. I love that because it's different. You know, we're not used to that in The Walking Dead. We're used to 2 people fighting each other and our team wins, right? But that's not the case anymore. It's now, I'm not just gonna kill all of you. No, we have to work on a future. We have to work towards a future. And all those themes were just amazing. And I felt like the saviors were actually kind of like humanized a little bit. Like, Whisperers are very different. They're all like animals to us. I mean, they're wearing walker masks. They're pretty much animals. The group has no problem killing them because they're just animals. But the saviors, they have a face to them. They have a personality. And we see characters like Morales coming back. That puts it into Rick's mind that these saviors weren't always bad people. Some of them used to be good people. And then Carl goes to Sanctuary in season 7, sees a bunch of good people there, a bunch of innocent people, and that teaches Rick something completely new. Rick kills that one guy in episode 2. He finds a baby in there. He was just protecting his child. He's doing the same thing Rick's doing. Emotional stuff that really impacts you and makes you think. For a war season, it was so well done. That's realistic to what war is like in the apocalypse, what I would expect from a war in the apocalypse. And it didn't go on for too long. That shit can fuck off because it was perfectly length. I can't think of anything I'd want to be removed from this season. I really can't. Some of the best episodes we've ever had in the series. Episode 2, 4, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 16 are all like within the top like 50 best episodes of the entire show, in my opinion. You have a couple stinkers. I really don't like episodes 6, 7, or 11 that much. I think they're the only 3 episodes in this season that I consider to be below average. But every other episode is just... And even those episodes still have some really good moments to them. They're not just completely ass. And the world building was great with the scavengers, even though it seemed like a wasted group at first. It was very, very important in the end with the world building that was being done with this group because of the Rick movies that was being built up this whole time. The helicopter and the whole CRM shit, you know what I mean? I love that. Loved that so much. Now let's get into stuff I didn't like. A lot of the stuff I didn't like was so minor. It was such small things that honestly are nitpicks at the end of the day, but there's still something I want to mention. Some of the directing, not all of it, some of it. There's some scenes where, you know, a character will, like, it'll just be weirdly shot. It's not badly written. People blame writing on this for some reason. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with writing. But for example, like, Rick will have Lucille and then Negan will be on the floor. And instead of Rick using the right end of Lucille, he uses the back end. Like, that's not a writing thing. That's just like they were directing it and they didn't realize that they probably should have just made Rick, you know, use the right end and then they let Negan kicks him or something. It would have made more sense for the scene's sake, and it would have stopped as many questions as it was. And when Tara got shot with an arrow in that one battle, it's kind of hard to see what was going on. It was not shown clear enough. Small things like that. But the season also has some really good directing, so at the same time, it's kind of negated by the other episodes that are really well directed. Jesus' character in episode 2. I think he was fine the rest of the season, but episode 2, it always bothered me how he was okay with gunning down saviors from behind without them even looking. But then when a savior attacked him, had a gun to his head, was about to shoot Tara, he still kept that savior alive. That bothered me. It's like, okay, I get you're trying to be peaceful and stuff, but you just smoked him before. You just smoked him. So that's kind of inconsistent for a character, in my opinion. Kind of wish they did that a little bit differently. Like I said, Daryl, in some instances, I feel like they could have done the whole Taro stuff a little bit differently. But how they felt about Dwight, that all felt really organic and real. I had no problem with that. And then Rick going to the scavengers in episode 5, or was it episode 6? One of those episodes. He went to the scavengers alone. I didn't like that because, Rick, you could have been shot on the spot by them, and that would be it. You know, how would you know that you can figure it out, or you can possibly talk them into something? I mean, he almost did die. I know he did say, and he did probably talk to his people, if, you know, I'm not back, I want you to go there and kill them all. You know what I mean? But that's also put more people at risk, and it felt like a stupid plan to me, and I don't think Rick would make that plan. So I think that was just, like, you could have done that differently. You know what I mean? And that's about it. I can't think of anything else to claim that's bad about this season. Those minor flaws don't make up for much. They just don't. They really don't. So when I hear people saying season 8's trash, Angela Kang saved the show, Scott Gable's trash, it drives me nuts because this season is so underrated, so underappreciated. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.